Our next speakers are Diego Rodriguez and Luis Caro from JFrog. Conan. How many of you have ever used Conan? Hey, you see?
Good for you.
Good. So, Diego, either through Conan or through his previous company, has been supporting our conference every year from the very first year.
I think so.
So we have a long relation, and I want to express my thank you for his support and also for his support of the C++ community, because he really had the idea to have a tool that was needed for C++, and he pushed it a lot until he got something that was quite useful. So, Diego, thank you very much.
Thanks to you.
And now, he's going to unlock the power of Conan 2. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you very much. And hello everybody and welcome to our talk. Today we're going to talk to you about all the exciting new features that we've been adding to Conan 2. My name is Luis Caro, I'm a software tech lead at JFrog.
And I'm Diego. I am one of the Conan co-founders. But honestly, that was quite a clickbaity title. So today I'm going to play a different role. I'm going to be you. I'm going to be the C++ developers, and I will be your voice into this talk. So be prepared.
Interesting. Does that mean I could be the lead architect today?
You are the lead architect today.
Oh my God, I'm in charge. Okay, we're in for a good one. All right. So first, let me show you. This is a recent survey from the ISO C++ developer survey, where people say that managing libraries in C++ is a major pain point. What are your thoughts about this, Diego?
I totally agree. I mean, this is probably my biggest pain point today. Is this, managing my dependencies, and this is really terrible. I really hope that there were something in the C++ ecosystem to deal with this.
I see. So can I now ask you, what do you do to manage your dependencies? How do you do it?
Well, actually, I do copy and paste the source code into my project. And I automate, I add the scripts there in my CMake list, and I automate the build. So I basically vendor in my dependencies.
I see. Okay. So that's, do you know what? I think that's probably a valid thing to do in some scenarios, but I can think of many downsides as well. Like if you want to update versions, you also pay the cost sometimes of the build times as well. Does that happen to you as well?
Oh yeah, totally. It's a really bad solution.
So can I ask you, I mean, Conan has been out for like 7-8 years now. Have you tried it? Have you like thought of giving it a go?
I did, but I didn't like it.
So what happened? Why did you like? Why did you like it?
Well, I was trying it, and the first thing that Conan asked me to do is to modify my CMake list and add there some Conan-specific stuff, and honestly, I hated it.
God. Okay, so I think I know what you're talking about. So what I'm showing here, this is the integration with CMake in Conan 1, right? So from many years ago. And you're right. So what you had to do was actually, in your CMake list, you had to add a line to include the Conan build info.cmake, some of you may be familiar with, and also call a function. And then everywhere where you were linking libraries and targeting libraries, you had to either use a CMake variable that we set, or a of those targets that we have at the bottom here. So, but yeah, let me tell you this, you're not the only one who didn't like this.
That's totally me. I mean, to be clear, that was a blocker for me. I stopped using Conan because of this.
I see. So what you wanted to achieve is basically be able to integrate your C++ dependency manager, in this case Conan, without making invasive changes to the CMake. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So let me show you how we do it in Conan 2 now with the Conan 2 generators. So what we have at the top here is now a CMake project that doesn't have any Conan-specific logic. So we call find package for setlib, and we also do a targeting libraries against the modern setlib library. Is that what you would like?
This is exactly what I wanted.
Excellent. So let me show you what you can do with Conan 2 these days. Instead of modifying your CMake list, it's all about how you invoke CMake, right? So you call Conan install, which will resolve your dependencies and generate the files, and then just tell CMake, okay, please use the CMake toolchain file, right? What do you think about this? Is it good?
It's getting better, but still quite a long command line to write, right? Now, come on, I'm an old man, I'm lazy. I don't want to write that command list too long for me.
Okay. So the blocker now is that this is too long to type, right? Okay, fine.
It's a blocker too.
It's a blocker. Okay. Stop. We're stopping development here until we satisfy this user, please. So what we have in Conan 2 as well, and we take advantage of features of CMake that have been released since then, is the CMake presets, right? So CMake presets are a file that live close to your CMake list at the root level, and Conan generates this for you so that you don't have to remember to type a long toolchain file. And you can just do it like this. Would you like me to show you a demo of this?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So let's fingers crossed that it works. Right. So this is a very simple CMake project that we have here. So I have, my sources. I have hello CPP. That I just invoke some functionality from setlib. So as I showed you earlier, I can just do Conan install. And that just resolve the Conan graph. I already have zlib installed on my machine, and now all I have to do to set up the CMake project is this: CMake preset Conan release, and that's it. CMake is already configured. And now what I can do as an extra is CMake build. Is that correct? Yeah. And now it's built, right? So this is much simpler. You don't make any invasive changes to your CMake list, and also you don't have to remember much command line. So is that good? Are we happy, Diego?
I am, but you know what? I was recently promoted to build manager.
Okay.
And my...
Congratulations.
No, not really. So now actually I have a team of developers, and they won't touch the terminal even with a poll.
Okay.
So now I'm thinking, they won't be able to type Conan install. It's too difficult for them. It's good for me, too difficult for them. So I need a way to call Conan install automatically. So I've been thinking adding an execute process into CMake list.
Okay.
So execute process will call Conan install for me, and then when they are running CMake, they can run CMake. They will run CMake in the IDE or whatever.
Okay.
And that should automatically call Conan install for them.
Okay. So I see what you mean. So you're telling me that you may be too lazy to call Conan install, right? That's fine. I can respect that. So you would like CMake to invoke Conan for you, which is perfectly valid. And also you would be willing to modify your CMake list to add an execute process. But you told me just now that you didn't want to touch your CMake list. So what's the deal here?
Well, I'm a developer. I changed my mind.
Okay, fine. No worries. We actually can do even better than this. So something that we introduced in the last year since Conan 2 was released, we are using one of the newest CMake functionalities which is called dependency providers, right? So this is a file that is available in this repository, the CMake Conan repository. You can download that. You can chuck it into your project as well. And what you do when invoking CMake is you tell CMake in this variable here, the CMake project top level includes, right? Now, same case as before, we don't expect you to remember that. So what they advise as well is you can have a CMake presets, which could be either in your repository or in CMake uses presets as well, local to you, right? And that's it. You just tell CMake, please use this provider. And what this does is it intercepts the calls to find package, and it can call Conan for you and generate those files on the fly. So the way you would invoke this is just like this, right? No longer need to call Conan install, so your developers don't need to remember, or they don't need to be inconvenienced with the terminal. This is actually really useful when you're working with an IDE that calls CMake for you, right? So sometimes it's not about the developers not wanting to do it, is that the IDE doesn't even give you the option to invoke a command before CMake. So it kind of makes sense to do that as part of the CMake configuration process. So I think, and hopefully please agree, Diego, here, this is the best of all worlds, right? No need to change your CMake list, no need to invoke Conan before invoking CMake, and you can add it as a process, and you also don't have to remember anything extra to invoke CMake with, other than a preset name. Are we good with the preset name?
We are good with the present name.
Okay, good. So
But I'm not happy yet.
Okay.
I told you I'm a C++ developer, right? So I'm not going to be easy today. You know what? When I was trying Conan, I needed OpenCV. Right.
Okay.
So I was installing OpenCV dependency, and then I realized Conan was installing a bunch of things, and then I saw there that it was exited utils in the dependency. I said, wait a minute here. Why? I depend on OpenCV. What is happening? Why exited utils is a dependency? And then I was wondering, I don't want to become like NPM. right? I want to use a package manager, but I want to have control. I want to know why exit utils is part of my dependencies. And honestly, it wasn't that easy to know why.
Fair enough. So after what happened a few weeks ago, I would also be scared if I saw exit utils in my dependency graph when I wasn't expecting it. So what we've had in Conan 1 and Conan 2 as well, sorry about this, is the visual graph inspector. So you can issue a command Conan graph info and tell Conan, please output an HTML page, and you can visualize it in your web browser, right? So, but the feedback that we've received from users as well,
it didn't work.
It didn't work.
I mean, the boxes were overlapping and everything. It was not. The UX was a bit poor.
So, okay, so you didn't like this either. He's a really, really hard user to please, isn't he?
I love it on the side.
So what we've introduced in Conan 2.2, which was released a few weeks ago, is the new visual graph inspector. You can actually have better visibility of the dependencies. It tells you exactly what sort of dependency and where they come from. Would you like me to show you a demo?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so let me go here. So this is the graph for OpenCV 4.5.5, and you mentioned that you noticed that exit utils was
utils,
okay.
Yeah.
So we actually have a handy search here. So exit here. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that should highlight exit utils right here, right? And if you click on exit utils, what you can see is actually where it's coming from. And there are two libraries that depend on it. One is libtiff, right? And the other one is let's see, ffmpeg. So now you need to determine, is this required for the functionality? And maybe you can think, you know what, I'm using OpenCV, yes, but I'm not using libtiff, I'm not loading the specific image format or ffmpeg. So we've also added the option, and it's here in the sidebar. You can click on libtiff and you will see all the package options, and you will see a specific option here, LZMA, which if you set it to false, it will no longer depend on exit utils, right? And you can do the same for ffmpeg as well, which I'm fairly certain that it has the same, there it is, yep, same option. If you set these two options to false, when resolving your graph, you can say no more exit utils. So this is actually really useful, and let me know if that works for you, especially when it comes to security and stuff like that.
I would use it, definitely.
My God, he's happy. Okay, we can wrap this up, right?
Not so long.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because, okay, that's regarding the dependencies, that's fair enough. But you know, another problem that I was really having all the time is I was really sure that I built some binary for some of my dependencies. And then I was installing my dependencies, and then I got like this dreaded missing binary error. So, hey, you're missing the binary for this dependency of yours. But I was really sure that I had built that dependency for. I had built the binary, so I couldn't understand why this mismatch. And this was also a bit painful.
I see. So that's absolutely true. So some of you may recall that the way Conan encodes the information about a package is just in a package hash, right? So that's difficult to reason. When Conan is resolving a graph and requesting binaries to a server, it will do it by that the hash for that particular configuration. And it can give you a summary of what it's looking for, but then sometimes you think, why is it telling me that it's missing? I built it on CI and I uploaded it. I know it's in CI and I can actually see it. And the difference between what's uploaded and what's missing, it's really hard to spot. So we've added a new command in Conan, is the Conan graph explain. So if you're in a situation where a binary is missing, what Conan will do is try to find the closest match that's available on the server versus the one that it's requesting. It's going to tell you exactly which settings, options, dependencies, and dependency versions are different. So you can actually work out exactly what you need to rebuild or why change. What do you think of this?
This looks useful. Yeah, it did. I think I could use it. But this still brings me another question. Because I'm seeing there setlib 1.3. But I'm also pretty sure that setlib 1.3.1 was already released. So I would also need a way to, hey, I need to check if my dependencies, there are new versions of my dependencies.
I see.
And I would like Conan to kind of, and I couldn't do it with when I was trying this with Conan 1.
Absolutely, yes. So especially if you are using Conan Center, where we constantly publish new versions of recipes, or somebody in your organization is managing this for you, we've introduced a new command as well, the Conan graph outdated as well, where you can sort of parse your dependency graph, and for each dependency, will check it will report the version that it's currently resolved to, and it will also show you the latest available version. So you can check, oh, I'm using OpenCV 3 and OpenCV 4 has been released, and things like that. So this could be useful if you're especially, paying attention to like CVEs or bug fixes or something like that. You can actually see, okay, it's finally available, right?
Yeah. I think you got me regarding the Conan tool. I think you got me, but there's more.
You need more?
Yeah, I need more. I have
solve C++ dependency management. What more do you want?
I have a content problem because all of these dependencies now they are coming from Conan Center. But you know what? I also need a dependency, and the source code is not open source.
I see.
So I tried to submit it to Conan Center, and it was rejected because Conan Center is only hosting open source. And also sometimes I need to customize the recipes in Conan Center
I see.
for my needs. But the maintainers that are evil maintainers, they are rejecting my very specific, only for me company modifications to my recipe. So I don't know what to do. What should I be doing with this customization and these closed source recipes?
I see, fair enough. So that's something it's been requested by other users as well. And we've introduced in Conan 2.2, which was released a couple of weeks ago, and we announced this yesterday as well on our blog post, so please go check our website, is the ability to use a local folder in your file system as a Conan remote, right? And the idea is that in this folder, you could have the same file structure as the Conan Center index repository and have your own recipes. So the Conan solver, when you're looking for a dependency, will look there as well as any other remotes that you have configured. But it may be easier if I show you this visually. Does that sound good so far?
Yeah. If awesome. I understood correctly, I think this could be useful for me. So if you can please show it.
Excellent. So we're going to need basically 2 or 3 things, right? First, let's say we have this library that for whatever reason we cannot accept in Conan Center. So this is a repository that's in GitHub. It builds a standalone library. This is completely agnostic of Conan at all. It's just a CMake project and C++ project, very, very standalone. And then what we propose here is that you maintain a repository that contains a recipe for that library, right? So this would have exactly the same structure as a Conan Center index repository, but you're in charge of this. And maybe, and what we advise is you host this in a Git repository so that you can share it across your organization or maybe share with your users. So the way it would work, and the third thing that you would need to do is tell Conan, okay, you first, clone this repository to a local folder, and you tell Conan, please use this local folder as a Conan remote, and then that's it. The Conan graph solver will be able to pull recipes from there. Does that sound good?
That's too awesome to be true. I don't believe you.
How come you don't believe me? I'm showing you a screenshot. I cannot be.
Not enough.
Be fake.
Not enough.
Fair enough. So I'm going to show you how this works. So this is the command to clone a repository that I have as an example. So this is the Pepito recipe index, which only has the recipe for one library. And I'm going to tell Conan, hey, use this as a remote, right? So that's what you would have to. That's what you would have to do. That's it. So now Conan, if I do a Conan remote list or something like that, it would appear. And then what I want to do now is that the one? Yes. So that's the repository here. Oops, what happened there?
You didn't add the remote?
I did not remote. Sorry, I forgot about that. So now I'm going to tell Conan, hey Conan, I have this local folder called Pepito index, right, relative to my current directory. Please add it as a remote.
What is that allowed packages there?
That's a very, very good question. So because Conan can actually have multiple remotes, right? What you want if you are adding another remote, and this is a feature that we added, is tell Conan which recipes it's allowed to retrieve from that remote. So imagine you also have Conan Center, right? And let's say that this is provided by someone external to your organization. What you don't want in the future is something like them injected zlib or something like that, and then Conan solve into that. So this is a way to keep security. At the moment you add the repository to your Conan remotes, you tell Conan, hey, the only recipe that I'm allowed to retrieve from there is this one, right? It obviously accepts wildcards and some expressions as well, so you have some flexibility as well. So let's do that. And now I'm just going to ask Conan, hey, can you please list me all the recipes that are called libpepito in the Pepito remote, and that's what it does. So that's how it works, without intervention from a server or something like that.
So you are telling me that if I basically put some recipes in a Git repo, and I clone the repo, and I do a remote add to the repo, then I will see the repo as if it was Conan Center, basically?
Absolutely, yeah. So you can compare it like that.
So I could put my modified recipes there?
100%, yeah. That's what we would advise, actually, yeah.
Nice.
Excellent. So are we happy yet?
Not yet. So I'm happy. You convinced me. But now let me introduce to the compliance folks in my company. And this is going to be harder because they are asking for too many things, and some of them they're a bit weird. Okay, so for example, one of the things, we are building the recipes from Conan Center, right? And these recipes, where are the sources? Where is the source code of these recipes? So this will be the source code of these recipes will be somewhere in the internet. And these compliance folks in my company, they are telling me, hey, you need to guarantee me that you are able to build this package again 10 years from now. Okay? And it happens that the internet people are crazy. Sometimes they remove the files. Sometimes they check yeah, it happens all the time. So how can I guarantee that this is reproducible in 10 years' time? So the only way is that I need to go there, and just for the sake of compliance, I need to change the URL and point that URL to my own manual copy in my own server. That's the only way I can satisfy the compliance folks.
I see. And we actually have more users that have been doing this as well, that maybe like they use recipes from Conan Center. And actually we think, we always thought it was a good idea, download the sources from their canonical location. But it is true. You're saying that sometimes there's no guarantee that a website is going to be available 10 years from now. What we see in Conan Center and RCI is like 3 weeks from now, something's going to happen and it's not going to be available. So absolutely, that brings you to think, I'm going to download that file, I'm going to upload it to my server, I'm going to modify the recipe to add another URL to the list. And that's can be really frustrating, especially if that's the only change you have to make to the recipe, because that means you have to maintain a fork of the recipe when otherwise you could have used the one from Conan Center. So what we've added in Conan 2 is the ability to transparently retrieve sources from a mirror without modifying the recipe, right? So does that sound good to you?
They will be happy.
We'll be happy. Nice. Compliance, folks. This is your day. So the way you would do that is in the Conan global configuration file, you need to tell Conan basically two things. You can tell Conan, hey, for every URL that has a checksum, right? This is very important. Like this will only work if you specify a checksum like we do here for the file. Then Conan will identify that file by its checksum, and then it can retrieve it from a server that you tell Conan to look for it. And this can work in two ways. Here, the way it's worked, what I'm showing at the moment is if you cannot retrieve it from its original location in the open internet, then use this server as a fallback, right? This can be really useful, like I said, like especially when the websites are down for whatever reason. But you can also change the order, and you can tell Conan, hey, don't even go to the open internet, just download it from my private servers. This is something that we've seen a lot of users that say they have even network restrictions as well for whatever reason in their environments. So how does that look?
I think it's good.
Are you happy with it or
not? No. It's just one of the requests of the compliance team.
Okay.
There are way more things. So, for example, one of the things that they are requesting, they also want all the logs for every build. They want us to store them somewhere. And not only the logs, we need to keep also the coverage results. We need to keep the test results. We need to keep the test executables themselves. So where should I be putting these things?
Have you thought of like when you have a recipe in either the build method or using one of the hooks, which is an extension point that you wouldn't be required to modify the recipe, you can say, hey, collect all this information, the build logs, the test logs, and put it in a package folder. That way it just lives with package. Wouldn't that make sense? Does that work?
No. For example, have you built Boost? Sometimes just the Boost build logs are huge. And that's just a part of the things that we need to store. So if we store all of that stuff in the package, every time that we download the package to use it, to link with the library, we will have to pay for a huge transfer. And that's time, that's cost, that's money for us. So there is no way that we will want to put all of that. We want to store it, but we want to pay for it every time that we download the package to be linked.
I see. I was going to choose not to believe you, but then you mentioned the Boost logs, and we had a problem where it actually filled up the Jenkins logs, and it was a big issue for us. So you know what? I know exactly where you're coming from. So the Conan team works really hard.
Most people here, sorry, for fucking and...
It's good to keep the logs. It's fine. They're informative, right? So the Conan team has been working at this, and what we've introduced is a metadata folder that is associated both with the recipe itself and also with each individual package ID as well. And the way you do this is you can, as I mentioned before, you can use a hook so that after the build method or before the package method or after the package method, you get flexibility depending on what you're doing. you can copy these files into the metadata folder, right? You would do this in your CI machine, for instance, wherever these build and tests are happening. But then this metadata folder, sure, you upload it alongside the package, but users, when they consume the package, it's not downloaded by default, right? That means that it's available when the compliance folks need to access the data, but the consumers of the library and the packages don't have to pay the cost of either big file sizes or spending time decompressing the zip files and something like that. So it's only on demand. How's that sound?
Yes, that's good. But a quick question: if I'm keeping the logs there and all the data and the metadata, it looks like kind of decoupled from the package. Can I actually update the metadata in some of the testing? Because one of the typical use cases, I create the packages, the package goes through a pipeline of testing or QR or whatever, and then I need to add the metadata after. When it has been tested, I have to put more logs or more whatever into the metadata. Is this possible?
Yeah, that's absolutely possible. Like it lives in the server, so you can actually upload more data as it goes to those different like sort of QA pipelines like you mentioned. Yeah,
that is amazing, because one of the blockers there is that the packages are immutable. You cannot add extra data there, so this would be wonderful.
Exactly. So the package folder, we really expect it to be immutable, and we do track you can verify it as well, but the metadata is more flexible and you can modify it over time, as in the use case you mentioned.
You almost got the compliance folks happy. Still one more thing to go. So is this very trendy thing, the software bill of materials. So now it happens that when I want to release something, this team is asking for this software bill of material, right? So I have to provide them with this file. So I was wondering, I didn't find it in Conan 1. It's a built-in method, it's a built-in command or something in Conan 2 that will create a SBOM for me.
Oh my God, okay, this one's gonna be tricky. We don't have a built-in command in Conan.
Oh, you fail, I'm gone, bye.
No, okay, but let me tell you this. So in Conan 2, we've actually added, and I already mentioned the hooks extension point that is executed through the recipe. But we also have the ability to teach Conan new subcommands that are completely custom to you and to your team as well. We also have a reference implementation of some Conan extensions as well, which you can find in this repository. And if you want to try them out, all you have to do is Conan config install that URL there, and you get access to some of the custom commands. So these are some examples. We have some commands to interface with Artifactory, for instance, but also we now have a reference implementation of being able to generate a software bill of materials with the Cyclone DX format, right? One of the reasons that this is not a built-in command as well is that, well, there may be multiple formats to express software bill of materials. It will depend on your industry and on whatever standards you're following. So that's why we're leaving this in the extensions at the moment. How does that sound?
Yeah, so how can I use that SBOM Cyclone DX command?
Just like any other command, you would type Conan SBOM colon Cyclone DX, and just like here, and then you pass some arguments, and it will generate for your dependency graph. It will generate in the format that you are requesting, right? So in this case, we could see the dependencies, the versions, the license, which tends to be really important when it comes to compliance. So how's that look?
And can I extend this for if I need something like a customization of this? I can
100%,
create my own custom commands and modification of this.
Absolutely,
that will create the SBOM as
a lot
I
of
need
users
it.
already doing it. So yeah.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so you got the compliance team happy now.
Awesome.
No, not there yet.
But I mean, who else?
There is one more thing, one usability thing.
Okay.
Because there is, and I'm back to me. So compliance team is happy. But now, as a user, I recall that there is a kind of pain that because we need to maintain our software for many different platforms and distros. So when I'm creating a package, I need to make sure that it's compiling, for example, with GCC 9, 11, 12, with Clang, different flavors, right? So I'm working in my machine, and then the way that I need to have my environments kind of decoupled. I cannot have all these compilers at the same time. So I have my Docker image there. So I find myself all the time, hey, I spin a container, I drop in, I got into the container, I do the Conan create inside the container to have a build with that specific GCC compiler or whatever. And then I recover, I might extract the final package because I want to put all the packages in some place. And when I'm done with all the different compilers and everything, okay, this is looking good, and I will upload the packages or whatever. And this is, as you can see in the screen, this is a bit tedious because I need to repeat the process over and over again. So I was wondering if Conan could help me with this.
Absolutely. Because let me see. if I get this right. So you drop into a prompt inside Docker for each of your different compiler versions because you have different images.
Yep.
And then you issue a Conan create command, and then you have to either upload it from the Docker container or extract the package. And then is that what happens?
This is what I'm doing.
I see. And you don't like that.
No, of course not. I mean, this is...
This is not so bad. It's just a command. I mean, okay. So, and you would like something like this?
Yeah, of course. I love to have just a Conan commands there. I'm a C++ developer. I don't want to be running Docker or whatever, right?
Fair enough. Okay. And are you able to install all these compilers on the same system? Because some of these can actually coexist on Linux, right? Is that too much of a problem?
Some dependencies, I prefer to have them in isolated environments.
Okay. So here's something that the team has been working really well on this one, right? We have been thinking about giving Conan the ability to, when you are issuing a Conan create command, to actually do it inside a Docker container. The way this would work, and I'm going to use the example of Clan 16, actually Clan 18 is this. So you have your profile where you're specifying, okay, I'm using Clan version 18 on Linux, and typically what you would have to do is be on Linux and have Clan 18 installed, right? But what we are introducing now is if you have Docker, you can tell Conan, hey, use a Docker runner, right? Give it the name of the image, and what Conan will do is, on the fly, it will spin up a container from that image. It will transfer the recipe that you want to build alongside the test package, and then it will extract the package to your host environment. So the end result is going to be exactly what you want from here. Is like you issue Conan create as if it was run locally. It will build a package almost inside Docker and take it out. How does that sound?
This sounds perfect, but I still don't believe it.
How come you don't believe me?
Sounds too beautiful to be true.
I thought I proved myself to be a trustworthy developer. Okay, this is our last demo for the day. So I have here a Conan recipe for libpepito, which is a sample recipe for the day, and this is what the Conan profile looks like for building this, right? So as you say, I am on macOS at the moment. I have Docker installed, Docker desktop is running, and I want to build a binary for Clang 18 on Linux, right? So I'm just telling Conan, hey, do it in a Docker container, spin up a container from this image, and let's see how it goes. So I'm just going to issue Conan create, point to the recipe, and use this profile. So let's see what happens here. And I'm going to show you what happens on the fly. So what's happening here? We're currently developing this, so there's a lot of information. We spin up a container and we run the Conan create command inside the container. And what you're going to see when it builds is this is Clang 18 actually, and this is running inside a Linux container. And at the very end of this, the package is transferred back to my own machine. So what I can see now, if I issue this command in my host machine on macOS, is I'm going to see binaries for libpepito 1.0, and I can see here not only the macOS binary that I had before issuing this command, I can also see the Linux binary that I just built, right? So if you're in an environment, for instance, you mentioned, oh, I want to maintain different versions of GCC. Well, you can call the commands one after the other, and you will have all the packages on the same machine. Does that work?
That works perfectly for me.
Awesome.
Yeah. But my team is more, as always. So there are Windows developers out there, poor souls. And so they would like to have something similar to this. So I wonder if it's possible, something to have for them. And there's another team that is running the same concept, but over SSH. So if they can apply this runner concept for their builds, that would be amazing.
I see. Actually, that's a very good point. When we were with the team and we were designing this feature, we thought, okay, Docker is an obvious one, right? And Docker, at the moment, the way it works is you target mostly Linux. At the moment, we're not thinking of supporting Windows Docker inside of Windows, but we have different alternatives. So SSH was the obvious next one that we've developed as well. So I'm going to show you next how this would work. But yeah, basically here there would be no constraints. You could target Windows, you could target Linux, you could target macOS, as long as you can install an SSH server on that remote machine and you have the ability to configure with your build tools. That is not going to be a problem. But also, because there's more here, I'm going to show it before you ask for it. is the Windows subsystem for Linux, right? If you're already on Windows and you have access to WSL, it may not make sense to go through Docker. Just got the middle layer there. You can just like do it directly inside a WSL. You can have multiple distros installed as well. So if you're targeting multiple distros, you're going to be able to express this in the configuration. So this is more or less what we're thinking the configuration is going to look like. Docker on the left, SSH in the middle, and WSL on the right. How does that look for you?
So you are telling me that if I'm in Windows, for example, and I have a package to build, I do a Conan create with a profile.
Yeah.
Another Conan create with another profile. And I will end with in my Windows machine, I will end with two binaries, one built in Windows and the other built automatically in Windows subsystem for Linux.
Absolutely, yeah. Just happens on your machine as well.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. I think my team will be happy.
Awesome.
You got me. You got me.
Nice. Finally. Okay, this is excellent. That's actually really good news. So now, Diego, you get to be lead architect again.
I think I can come back to my role. And the thing is, the title was clickbait, but it's also true that everything that I've said today is real feedback. It's something that users have been telling us for years in Conan 1. If you think that the clickbait here was 15, 15 is a bunch of new features, incredible new features, whatever. Actually, our struggle was to choose, because there were at least another 15 more that are game changers, real game changers, things that have been requested for years. So the thing is that if you have been using Conan 1, I think we need to think about Conan 2 differently. So Conan 2 has become like a very powerful build and packaging framework. Okay, you have seen the custom commands, you have seen the extensions, you have seen the Docker thing, you have seen the local programs. It's a completely different story if you haven't used Conan in the past. So there is a really a different tool. So if you were in the ISO C++ survey that you were responding that you are not using a package manager, in 2024 probably there is no more reason to not use a package manager for C++.
Absolutely, and from what I can see here, like we've shown you the features that on the left. There's a lot more than we couldn't fit in. We're not Taylor Swift. We couldn't release a double album, unfortunately. But if you have more questions and want to learn more, especially we have a demo for the CLion plugin as well as some of the other features, please come to our booth. We're just right outside, and we're going to be here for the entire conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we have 4 minutes for questions.
So we still have time for some question. Oh.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for the talk. It was even the way that you made the talk was really great. So I wanted to ask you about using Docker in Windows. It is also so the licensing that you have to pay with Docker for Windows. It's also applied if you have to use Docker in Windows for your product.
So that's a good question. I believe yes. If you install Docker Desktop, I think you may have to pay a license. So that's what we also have WSL, so you can sort of skip that bit as well. My understanding is I'm not entirely sure how if there's a free way of having Docker on Windows. So, like I said, WSL serves as a fallback there.
And also, it's are you able to use instead of Docker, for instance, Podman?
Not yet, no. So these are features that we're prepared to receive feedback on, and any help that users can provide, we'll be happy to look into it.
Okay, thank you for your answer.
So what would be the way to start with Conan in the enterprise? I understand that I need to talk to my DevOps guys and make them register for some Conan trainings, and they need to learn the Conan so that I don't have to use it. Well, that this is integrated in my CMakes.
Do you answer? Or?
Yeah, sure. So we used to have a training, a free one, but for Conan 1. The way that we did in Conan 2, we converted the documentation is now a tutorial. So the first step to learn Conan would be to do that tutorial. It's a hands-on tutorial, so you can actually execute everything, and there will be like a bunch of lessons to learn Conan. So this is necessary. I mean, this is, if you are going to use Conan, it should be part of your tool belt, and you need at least to learn the basic. We plan to add some training, free training, of course, in the future, but this will take some time. And the other question was the training, learning, and the other question, sorry, was?
So is it more of a DevOps thing or a developer thing?
It's a developer thing. It's a developer thing because basically in every other language, you git clone a repo. The first thing that you will be doing is npm install or Maven install or whatever, just to fetch your dependencies because your software, the thing that you clone, has dependencies. So this is a developer thing. And when Luis was showing the CMake integration with the provider, it's basically for that. It's because in C++, developers, they don't want to touch anything but CMake or probably just only the IDE. But still the Conan install needs to happen. Like the first thing, even before building your current software, is to fetch the dependencies. So at the very least, developers, C++ developers, should be aware, in the same way that they learn about git clone, they should be aware that Conan install needs to be run to get the dependencies. And they need to be aware about these things that we have been explaining here. Hey, maybe eventually a binary is missing. What can I do? Should I report to, or maybe I can run a graph explain, or maybe I can do a that will equal missing. So at least some basic knowledge about the tool is very, very recommended for developers. Dependency management is a discipline for developers. Just in C++, we are like decades behind. But eventually, developers, they need to learn about these things. They will need to learn about automation. They need to learn about testing, that we haven't been doing testing for decades as well, compared with other languages. So eventually, C++ developers, they also need to learn about all the different tools that they need to use for being productive nowadays.
Thank you. More questions? Okay, so, sorry.
Hello, Diego. Thank you for your presentation. I understand some of these features are already in Conan 1, and some of them are exclusive to Conan 2, right?
Yeah, correct, yeah.
Okay. And how could you explain to your boss that you need to migrate to Conan 2 in order to use some of those features?
That's a very, very good question, actually. People have asked this before. So Conan 1 is obviously still there. There's only going to be critical block fixes. There's no more features being added to Conan 1, right? So if there is some of these things like the SBOMs, the Docker runners and stuff like that, if they're really, really needed by your team, then that's a motivator to move to Conan 2. For some teams, actually, the feedback we receive is that the transition from Conan 1 to Conan 2 is not too much effort, right? It really does depend on how you use Conan 1, unfortunately. So the answer may depend from team to team. So, but my experience, we have to do the migration of all the recipes in Conan Center. And there are a few patterns that are just repeated over and over and over and over. And once you hit those patterns, it's almost like a mechanical work, and you can just speed it up quite easily. So it really will depend.
Okay, so the recipe in Conan Center are already prepared to Conan 2,
The vast majority of them,
Okay.
yes.
95%.
I think so, yeah.
Not the one we use.
Yeah.
Ping us.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
To clarify, is probably any pain point that you already having in Conan 1 is probably solved in Conan 2. So if you focus on this point, reproducibility and log files is a huge pain in Conan 1. So if you really need that, you can use that as a lever to your bosses, to your managers. Hey, we need to move to Conan 2 because our reproducibility with log files is going to be much better. So and we will be faster basically if you achieve that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.